All right, so today we're diving deep into something that's been getting a lot of attention lately. The Freedom Super Patch, that patch that claims to help with pain relief. We've got a really interesting mix of sources to dig into for this one. We've got videos straight from the company that makes the patch, explaining how it works. And then we've got a really powerful testimonial from someone who's actually used it and seen some pretty incredible results. Oh, we've even got a blog post in Spanish that explores the benefits too. So you're probably listening because you're wondering, does this thing actually live up to all the hype?
It's a great question, one I think a lot of people are asking. I think what really caught my attention was this concept of the neuromatrix of pain that keeps popping up across all these sources.
Yeah, I have to admit, when I first heard that, it sounded a little bit like science fiction.
I know, right? But it's actually a really fascinating way of understanding how pain works. Imagine this. Your brain isn't just passively receiving pain signals, it's actively processing them through a network of different regions, almost like a complex control panel. And this control panel, the neuromatrix, actually shapes how you experience and interpret pain.
So it's not just a simple, ouch, I stubbed my toe signal. There's a whole team of brain regions involved in how we actually feel that pain.
Exactly. And the folks behind the Freedom Super Patch are suggesting that sometimes these signals can get disrupted, almost like they get stuck or something, and that can lead to persistent pain.
Okay, so that's where the patch comes in. But what I found really interesting is how they keep comparing the pattern on the patch to a QR code. What's that all about?
You know how a QR code uses a specific pattern to share information with your phone almost instantly? Well, the Freedom Super Patch uses a similar idea. Those intricate ridges you see on the patch are designed to stimulate specific receptors on your skin.
So it's not releasing any kind of medication into your body. It's purely working through physical stimulation.
That's right. It's all about sending unique signals through the skin to that control panel in your brain, the Neuromatrix. They call it vibro-tactile technology. And the idea is that the stimulation helps to reset the Neuromatrix, and that leads to pain relief.
Wow, that's pretty mind-blowing. So it's almost like giving your brain a little nudge in the right direction to help it manage those pain signals more effectively.
You got it. And what's even more interesting is that this isn't just some random idea. There's actually some science behind it.
Well, speaking of science, one of the videos we watched mentioned a study on the Freedom Patch that was actually selected to be presented at the World Institute of Pain Conference in Turkey. What does that tell us about this technology?
Oh, being selected for a conference like that is a big deal. It means that the research has been reviewed by leading experts in the field of pain management, and they've deemed it scientifically sound.
Okay, so this isn't just some marketing gimmick. There's real scientific weight behind this technology. Do we know what the study actually found?
Well, the video highlighted some pretty remarkable findings. According to them, the study showed that people experienced significant pain reduction within minutes of putting on the patch. And not just a little bit of reduction, we're talking an average of 72% reduction. And get this, the relief lasted for a full 24 hours.
Those are some seriously impressive results. But let's shift gears for a moment and talk about a personal experience that really stood out to me. We have a testimonial from a user who experienced something even more than just pain relief. She actually saw an improvement in her mobility, too.
Yeah, that's what makes this testimonial so interesting. It points to potential improvement in overall quality of life, not just a reduction in pain.
Exactly. And her experience was really quite dramatic. She said, and I'm quoting here, "Last night I could not walk well on my knee, put the patch on this morning, and noticed about 3 hours or so later, literally diminish 95%.
I mean, that's incredible. It really does highlight the possibilities here. Obviously, individual experiences are going to vary, but this testimonial suggests that the Freedom Super Patch could actually help people regain their mobility and get back to doing the things they love, and that could be truly life-changing. You know what I find really fascinating about all this is that using physical stimulation to help with pain isn't actually a new idea. If you think about it, things like massage therapy or acupuncture have been around for centuries.
Oh, for sure.
And they work by stimulating different points on the body. And while we don't necessarily understand all the mechanisms involved, it's clear that they can have a real impact on how we perceive pain.
So in a way, is the Freedom Super Patch kind of like a high-tech version of those ancient practices?
You could definitely say that. Instead of relying on manual manipulation, the Freedom Super Patch uses those carefully designed ridges to target those specific skin receptors and influence the brain's pain pathways.
It's amazing how they've taken those traditional ideas and combined them with cutting-edge technology. Now, Going back to that testimonial for a second, what do you think might explain such a dramatic improvement in her knee pain and mobility?
Well, it's important to keep in mind that everyone's body is different, right? So everyone's going to respond in their own way. But it's possible that in her case, the vibro-tactile stimulation from the patch was just particularly effective in addressing her specific pain pathways.
So are you saying it's possible the patch could be more effective for some types of pain than others?
That's a great question. And honestly, it's probably something that researchers are already looking into. It would be really interesting to see studies that compare the patch's effectiveness for different conditions, like how it works for arthritis versus neuropathy, for example.
That makes sense, since those conditions involve different underlying mechanisms, so the patch might interact with them differently. Now, I remember that Spanish blog post we looked at also mentioned some potential benefits beyond pain relief, things like improved sleep and increased energy levels.
Yeah, that's really intriguing, isn't it? And it actually makes a lot of sense when you think about the connections. Pain can be incredibly exhausting and disruptive to sleep. So if the patch is genuinely effective at reducing pain, it's logical that other aspects of well-being could also improve.
It's like a ripple effect, right? You
Yeah.
tackle the root cause, and then you start to see these positive changes throughout the whole system.
Exactly. It's a more holistic approach, aiming to restore balance rather than just masking the symptoms.
So I have to ask, do you think this kind of technology could be the future of pain management?
It's definitely an exciting possibility. If further research continues to support its effectiveness and safety, and if it turns out to be helpful for a wide range of conditions, it could absolutely revolutionize how we approach pain management.
It's amazing to think about the potential impact, especially for people who've been struggling with chronic pain for a long time and haven't found relief through traditional methods. This could offer them real hope.
Absolutely. A pain management tool that's drug-free, non-invasive, and potentially very effective. That's something that could benefit millions of people worldwide.
But even with all this excitement, it's important to stay grounded and not get carried away by the hype, right?
Absolutely. We need to be informed consumers. We need to evaluate the evidence carefully and consult with our healthcare providers to make the best decisions for our individual needs.
Perfect. Okay, so we've explored the science behind this, looked at the claims, talked about the potential benefits, and even heard a firsthand account of how it's worked for someone. Now, how can we help our listeners decide if the Freedom Super Patch is something they should look into further?
Let's break it down for them.
So we've really dug deep into the Freedom Super Patch, looked at the technology, the claims, the potential benefits, and even some personal stories. But now, I guess the big question is, what does this all actually mean for you, the listener?
I think the bottom line is this: the Freedom Super Patch is putting itself out there as a way to deal with pain without having to rely on drugs or invasive procedures. And the way they're doing that, this vibro-tactile stimulation through those little ridges on the patch, is meant to kind of reset how your brain processes pain signals.
For what we've seen so far, it's looking pretty promising, right? We've got those studies suggesting some pretty significant pain reduction, relief that seems to last, and even that recognition from those experts at the World Institute of Pain Conference. Plus, we can't forget that incredible story about improved mobility that really shows how much of a difference this could make in someone's life.
Yeah, absolutely. Being able to move more freely, to get back to doing the things you love, that can be huge. But it's really important to remember that everybody's body is different. So what works wonders for one person might not be exactly the same for another. You know, it's always good to be a little cautious when it comes to new health products, even if they seem really promising.
For sure. So let's say you're listening to this and you're thinking, okay, this sounds pretty interesting, but where do I even begin? What advice would you give?
Well, the very first step should always be talking to your doctor or a healthcare professional that you trust. They know your medical history, they understand any other conditions you might have, and they can give you personalized advice based on your specific situation.
So it's not necessarily about abandoning any current treatment plans you might have, but rather exploring whether the Freedom Super Patch could potentially be a helpful addition.
Exactly. It's all about expanding your options and working together with your healthcare provider to find what works best for you.
Now, even if it turns out the patch isn't some kind of miracle cure for everyone, the fact that it's drug-free and non-invasive does make it a fairly low-risk option to consider, right?
Definitely. It's not like you're making a huge commitment or undergoing a risky procedure. You can give it a try and see how your body responds.
Okay, so to wrap it all up for our listeners today, do your research, talk to your doctor, and then make the decision that feels right for you.
I think that's great advice.
And if you're curious and want to learn more about the Freedom Super Patch, maybe even give it a try, head over to their website, TheSuperPatch.top. You can check out all their products, read more about the science behind it, and see if it might be a good fit for your pain relief journey.
It's really exciting to see these new approaches to pain management coming out. And who knows, maybe the Freedom Super Patch could be the key to a life with less pain and more freedom for you.
And on that note, that wraps up our deep dive into the Freedom Super Patch. We really hope you found this exploration helpful and informative. And remember, the more you know about your body and the options available, the better equipped you are to make choices that support your overall health and well-being. So, until next time, keep those curious minds engaged and keep diving deep.